You are listening to the Build a Brain podcast with Dr. Jeanne Zehr. Join the quest to shape an efficient brain that fires on all cylinders and runs like a fine-tuned machine. You are now in the capable hands of an international presenter and a pathologically optimistic brain builder. Dr. Zehr will give you the right blocks to build that 3 pounds of cerebral muscle for you, your child, or the young adult you teach or mentor. Block by block, thought by thought, now is the time to build a better brain. Let's get started.
Welcome, friends. So glad you came back to join us for another episode of Build a Brain. We are working our way through 28 amazing thinking skills identified by Reuven Feuerstein as foundational for all learning and thinking. And the really good news is they are good for children as well as adults. Today's kind of a heavy lifter, and so I brought in a good friend who is going to help us. She's one of the mediators on the MindCAP team. Vicki, welcome to Build a Brain.
Thank you.
Good to have you with me. So we enjoy collaborating here when we have a client. There's about 10 of us. We'll get together and talk about what we think could really help our clients. And Vicki and I were talking about a client the other day that we believe has lack of this cognitive skill. So let me share this one. Reuven Feuerstein recognized that there were some teenagers he was working with that had what he called an episodic grasp of reality. Let me say it again, an episodic grasp of reality. So these are people who seem to live second to second or moment to moment, kind of like the old MTV videos where you just had flashes of images, but they weren't connected in any way. And so this is kind of a scary way to live. It could also be somebody who's living in kind of a survival mode. As I don't know if I'm going to live till tomorrow. I don't know what I'm going to eat tonight. They just live from moment to moment. So I thought this was fascinating that he chose this one. The opposite of an episodic grasp of reality is what we're trying to develop at MindCAP when we work with our clients. We want people to understand cause and effect, that this cause is going to have this effect. So it's making important connections between things and events, finding the relationships that occur between things that happen. So I think we were talking about a little girl that we work with here. And what did we see that was happening with her, Vicki?
School is difficult for her. She doesn't know what her schedule is day to day. She depends on the teacher to tell her. She's not able to. It's almost like every day of going to school, she doesn't know what's going to happen.
She starts over every day.
Even though she's able to tell you her classes, she doesn't understand the schedule or the structure of the way it's planned.
So if we ask her, what do you think's going to happen next? Do you think she'd have an answer? Can she predict?
50-50.
Yeah.
She does not predict well, not just with school, but just in general things. Partly, it just occurred to me that sometimes part of the episodic grasp of reality can also be linked into, I realize you haven't done time yet, but if you've got a poor awareness of time, you do struggle with that episodic grasp of reality, let alone, with some cause and effect type things. But I was just thinking more of prediction.
Yeah, but I like how you tied those in, and we do see that where we're working on a specific cognitive function or strategy with someone, and we realize, oh, this is connected to this one. They're all like focus. If you don't focus, you can't do hardly any of these cognitive skills without focus. So you're absolutely right. Time is definitely connected to.
It is with her. I'll be able to use that going forward.
Thank you. Absolutely. We're going to hit time because that is one of our cognitive functions. So that will be one of our future podcasts. So how can we help somebody that you're mentoring, or even yourself. Here we literally do connect the dots, but try to help the person that you're working with make connections between events. As an adult, you're probably well aware of why events are happening to your family or in the workplace, but maybe somebody that you work with doesn't get that, doesn't see the connection there. So help them connect those dots, maybe between why the boss said, well, we're going to do it this way. Why are we doing it that? That's really stupid. So, well, I heard. So sometimes you might have to help a coworker connect dots by seeing how one thing impacts another. Often as a parent, so those of you that are parents and you've got kiddos you're trying to build these skills, each parent has to make their own decisions on how much to share with children. And obviously they don't need to know everything. This is why we need wisdom to help our children understand life and yet not be overwhelmed by it, by understanding the cause and effects in our family and how things happen in the world. You can actually just teach it, like when you're laundering the clothes. Why we eat food, why a car needs gasoline. I think parents often just assume kids are going to pick all this up. And we now know kids sometimes don't know where milk comes from. They think it comes from a carton.
Apples, any type of food, you just get it at the grocery store.
Yeah.
It just appears, I guess.
Yeah, comes in a bag. Where in the old days, many, like even I'd say 2 generations ago, there were more gardens in the homes and kids lived on farms, and so they saw where their things came from. Storybooks, if you're a parent or a teacher, of course, we do a lot of cause and effect themes in our literature. Like if you give a mouse a cookie, there's an example of what happens when you give a mouse a cookie. There are some good questions that you can ask, and Vicki's going to give those to us. What are some examples?
Yeah, especially for children. Things like, well, I wonder why the grass doesn't grow much in the winter.
Good one.
Why is it sometimes it grows, sometimes it doesn't? And maybe, I wonder what happened that made Emma so upset today. So, helping them think and identify things. Maybe there was something that led her to feeling that way. It wasn't just a decision on her part to act that way. And seen this one happen way too many times. When the dog comes in the house with muddy paws, what happens next?
Mm-hmm.
So, as I was thinking as you were talking, that a lot of it, and again, I was thinking about the client we were speaking about, that what I'm trying to work with her on, and I see it fitting in here in a lot of places, is being able to identify patterns. Cause and effect has patterns, but you have to be able to, predict, think ahead, and do some other type of thinking. But a lot of cause and effect does have patterns, like the grass. It runs through patterns every single year. And so then you can look and see what's happening during those other times as well, and other things. But yeah, it just made me think about patterns are important.
Excellent. That makes me think of one of our other thinking skills that we like so much, hypothetical thinking. If I know this is true, then what else is true? And I had never thought about how well that one fits with understanding reality. Yeah.
2 for 2 today.
I know. We're nailing it. Well, listeners, thank you for joining us for another podcast and another thinking tool that you're going to be able to use with anyone that you impact. And sometimes you start with yourself. I still have a couple of these I'm working on myself. So I hope you're finding it helpful, and you're going to be able to use these ideas with those people that you impact and that you're trying to help to build a brain. Come back and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Build a Brain podcast. If you're wanting more information on how to build a brain, please visit the website for the MindCAP Center in Fort Wayne, Indiana at www.mindcap.org. That's www.mindcap.org. Children and adults from across the United States and Canada have found the cognitive help they needed at the MindCAP Center. Their specialized team is trained in all levels of the Feuerstein program and can literally help you or your child build a new brain. We'll see you next time.